Hi, everybody. Welcome to Biology 210, Anatomy and Physiology. My name is Georgina Anderson. I'm excited to be your instructor for this class, spring 2022 semester. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of South Carolina. I study cell and molecular biology, and specifically, I work with stem cells and bone marrow transplants. I also teach anatomy and physiology at the University of South Carolina, and I've taught this course for Piedmont Tech for 2 or 3 years now, quite a while. And it hasn't changed in the last couple semesters, so things are pretty routine, should be a pretty smooth course. So the first thing you need to know about are the course materials. You will need either a hard physical copy of the textbook, or you can use the online edition. Either one is fine. The textbook that we'll be using is the Saladin 9th edition of Anatomy and Physiology. I've gotten a couple emails that people have older editions. I don't know how different they are. I, I don't know if it's absolutely necessary to have the 9th edition. Usually they're pretty similar, but I just don't know what the 8th edition has that's different than the 9th edition. This is very important. In order to complete your assignments, you will need a paper copy of the lab manual. Every semester we get to the 4th or 5th week of the semester and somebody tells me they didn't know they needed the lab manual and they haven't ordered it, and then they're behind on their work. It's a big problem. Please know right now, in a couple weeks, you will need the lab manual paper copy. That's something that is necessary to do the assignments of this class. The next thing you'll need is the McGraw-Hill Connect software, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. D2L is the learning management system that Piedmont Tech uses. Once you get used to it, it's not that difficult to use. So please, if you're new to D2L, start looking around, start finding where the different features are. We'll look at some of the important things later on in this video. To do exams 1 through 4, you'll need a webcam. You'll also need your Piedmont Tech ID in order to do exams 1 through 4. If for some reason you don't have a Piedmont Tech ID, for instance, if you are far enough away that coming to campus isn't practical, you can use your driver's license or other government issued ID for doing your online exams. The next thing we need to talk about is how your final grade is calculated. So you're going to have 5 lecture exams. Each one will have a certain number of chapters, and those 5 exams altogether count for 60% of your grade. Okay, so 5 exams, each one is 12%, altogether is 60% of your grade. Then you'll have 2 lab exams, and each of those is 10% of your grade. Okay, so that means altogether, these 7 exams will make up 80% of your grade. So most of your grade in this class comes from your exams. They are the most important things to be concerned about. A couple notes, the 5th lecture exam will replace one of the 4 previous lecture exams. So let's say something happened, you had an emergency, and you just weren't able to take lecture exam 2. At the end of the semester, when you complete that 5th lecture exam, whatever grade you get on the 5th lecture exam will also be put in the gradebook as your grade on that missed lecture exam 2. And this will never be used to reduce your grade. So if your 5th exam happens to be a low grade, this won't be used to pull down your grade. Also very important, this 5th lecture exam needs to be completed at a testing station at Piedmont Tech. So any one of the Piedmont Tech campuses, each one has a testing center. You'll need to make an appointment for one of the days in the testing window, and then you'll need to go there and complete that exam. That's going to be the end of April or the first Monday in May. Please know this now. Please put this in your calendar now. If you need to figure out how to arrange your work schedule or whatever you need to do, that 5th lecture exam has to be taken in person. The other 20% of your grade comes from weekly lab assignments. So you're going to have lab worksheets or quizzes or virtual labs that are due every week. All those assignments altogether count for 10% of your grade. What this means is each individual lab assignment is a tiny percentage of your grade. So if something happens with just one assignment, please don't worry about it. It's not going to impact your grade. On top of that, your 5 lowest lab assignments will be dropped. So if there's a quiz that for some reason you didn't get to before the window closed, or an assignment that didn't get saved properly, you have 5 of these small assignments that are going to get dropped anyway and won't count against your score. For each of the 5 lecture exams, there's a lecture quiz that is due midnight before the exam window opens. Each one of those counts for 1% of your overall grade for 5% in this category. And then finally, there are a series of Connect assignments and assessments. We'll look at those in just a second, but those combined for another 5% of your grade, and these are due at the very end of the semester. So I very strongly recommend that you get a calendar. If you don't have one already that you use, a calendar is going to be very, very important. With these exam windows, these windows cannot be extended. If for some reason you aren't able to take the exam during the exam window, there's no makeup exams, okay? That procedure we talked about with lecture exam 5, replacing the grade of one of the previous 4 lecture exams, is the mechanism that we're going to use for if there's an absolute emergency and you aren't able to complete an exam. Okay, so please, as soon as you're able, get a calendar and mark down the dates of these exams. Remember, each one of the lecture exams counts for 12% of your grade, and both of those lab exams are 10%. So those exam dates are very, very important. If you aren't able to take your exam during those windows, it's going to really impact your grade negatively. The lecture quizzes, like we just talked about, are due the midnight before each lecture exam. The lab assignments are all due on Sundays at midnight. And then the Connect assignments and assessments are due anytime this semester up to the start of that final exam. So next we need to talk about some really important information. This class is not easy. This class is a very important foundation course for anyone looking to go into a healthcare field. Anatomy and physiology, it's going to take a significant amount of effort in order to be successful in this class. In the several years that I've been teaching this, I have found that the students who are successful in this course usually spend between 2 and 2.5 hours per day for a total of 15 to 20 hours per week on this class. That's the expectation of a student who's going to get an A or a B in this class. So please consider now, if that's not a time commitment that you're able to put into this class at this time, whether or not staying in this class is the best thing for you to do. Okay, that time commitment is very important to consider. The next thing that's important is the format of the assignments that get turned in. In this class, we're going to be turning in PDFs. Okay, these PDFs need to have a very specific file name. That file name is last name, comma, first name, comma, assignment name. Okay, so for example, if I were turning in the first assignment, that file name would be Anderson, Georgina, PDF practice. Assignments that aren't turned in as PDFs or assignments that don't follow this naming convention, according to biology department policy, I'm not allowed to grade. Okay, this isn't a rule that I've made up that I think is really important. This is biology department policy that assignments need to be turned in as PDFs and they need to follow this naming convention. The final important thing here, we're going to be having office hours using Zoom on Thursdays from 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. This is a great time to meet with me to talk about any questions you have about the course material. If Thursday from 4:30 to 5:30 doesn't work for you, that's okay. Send me an email and we'll find a time, a different day of the week, a different time of the day that works for both of us. Okay, so there'll be standing office hours on Thursdays late afternoon, but there definitely is flexibility to meet at other times if that's what we need to do to meet your schedule. Okay, so I want to show you some of these websites. So the first one, this is our D2L page. So we're in section 80 of Biology 210, Anatomy and Physiology. This section here, when you first get into the D2L page, there's announcements here. Okay, so this first one is a very general announcement. This video that I'm making right now is going to be linked in this announcement, and then hopefully the first thing that you'll do for this class is watch that video. Okay. The content of this class is in this left-hand tab. Some important things here. So the assignment schedule is at this link. And these are the same dates that I talked about earlier, but if you don't want to watch the video again, that's fine. The dates are all right here. All of your exams are open from a Friday to a Saturday. So you'll have all day on Friday and all day on Saturday. And I planned it specifically that way for some people work Monday through Friday, some people only work on the weekends. This should be a window that gives everybody an opportunity, if they plan ahead, to find a good time to complete the exam. Okay, remember that exam 5 needs to be taken in person at Piedmont Tech campus. And there are going to be 4 days that that exam is open. You'll have to schedule to take the exam at a testing center on one of those 4 days. This page here, working with PDF files, if that's not something you've done before, this would be a good thing to review as you're getting ready to use PDFs pretty extensively in this class. Information here about HonorLock. HonorLock is the academic integrity software that we use during exams. You need to have a webcam, and that webcam is going to record you taking the exam. And then I'll be watching those videos to make sure that no students are using notes, using a textbook, anything like that. If you have trouble with this D2L software, there's a link here that's going to give you some more information. My contact information is in this tab here. Then we'll get here to the actual course material. So there are 5 unit exams. Here's unit 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. In each one of these, so with the lecture material, this is the Unit 1. These are the general things that you'll be learning in Unit 1. In this tab are a series of videos that I've recorded about the content. Then we have the unit assignment, which is the quiz that's due just before each exam window opens. The lecture PowerPoints are PowerPoints put together by the textbook company. And finally, this study tips, chapter outlines, and study worksheets. This is kind of a mix of different things. A lot of these are assignments that we used to have due in this class. The study list, though, is something that's really important. It's so important that I have turned it into its own document, and I'm going to be sending this out. So this is the Exam 1 study list, and it has section by section the most important questions. So essentially, for each chapter, if you can do these things, you should be in very good shape to do well on the exams. Okay, so section by section. So we've been looking in the folder for Unit 1. There's another one for 2, 3, 4, and then Unit 5. Then at the very bottom, we have the lab material. And the lab material is broken out week by week, starting with week 1, which begins on January 10th, the first day of class. Each one of these folders, week by week, starts with the instructions for the week, exactly what you have to do, whether it's quizzes or watching videos or completing worksheets or virtual labs. All of that is here in the instructions. And then here's a video that you'll be asked to watch. Here's a link to the quiz, and then your assignment for the week. Okay, so you'll read the instructions and then do each one of the things outlined in the instructions. Week 2 is very similar. You have instructions and then you have your assignment, and the instructions are going to tell you exactly step by step what you need to do. As you complete assignments, they're going to be turned in at this Assignments tab. So each one of these assignments opens on a certain date and then is due by midnight on Sunday a week later. Okay, so assignments can't be graded if they're turned in after that due date. Remember, there are a lot of these, and 5 of them are going to get dropped. So if for some reason you aren't able to complete 1 or 2, it's not going to count against you. Don't worry about it. These are very small assignments. Quizzes is the next thing that we need to look at. Okay. Each one of the quizzes that you complete when the window is open, and this tells you when it opens and then when it's due by, you click on it and it starts the quiz for you. Your exams are also in here, and remember, exams are going to need the HonorLock software and a webcam in order to do those. As we move through the course, your grades are going to be available to you in this tab. Okay, so your grades will be shown here, and then it will give you an estimate of your grade in the course as you progress. All right, so the next thing I want to show you is Connect. So if we go back to here, Connect registration instructions is what you're going to want to find. And here you're going to find a link. It's a very specific link. This is just for your class. And this link is going to take you to our class's Connect page. the Connect software has a 2-week free trial option. So if you need to, you can use that free trial for the first 2 weeks, and then you'll have to use the paid subscription after that. But if you need to do the free trial for the first 2 weeks, that should be fine. It looks like my Connect timed out while I was getting ready to make this video. So here we go. This is what Connect will look like for you. So you have 5 units, just like we just saw 5 units in D2L. Each one of these, there's the information, and then the homework assignment, and then the quiz. And then chapter 2, the information, the homework assignment, and the quiz. These assignments and quizzes are all due before exam 5. They're all due the same date. You can wait until April 26th to start them if you want to. That's not how I recommend doing it, but that is an option. These assignments and quizzes make up 5% of your overall grade. And then if we go all the way down to the very bottom, we have lab. And these are the virtual labs that we'll be doing. Okay, so we have, this one is the very first one. It's just a click through of how to work the software. And it's due next Sunday at midnight, January 16th. And then the 2 weeks later, we have 2 virtual labs due at that time. And all of these, the due dates are in here, and that'll tell you when everything needs to be completed by. The last thing that I want to show you, I'm trying something different this semester. It's a resource that I've thought about putting together for a little while, and I think we're going to try it. So I've showed you the study list already, and this is going to be available to you. I've made a very detailed checklist of all the things that I think a successful student would be doing in this class. Okay, so it starts Monday the 10th through Thursday the 13th. Okay, so important things that would happen in those 4 days. Completing the assignment. This one is very, very quick. It should not take you more than a couple minutes to do. The quiz about the course information, that's in D2L. The lab safety quiz, again, this one is a pretty easy one. Again, need to make sure you have a paper copy of the lab manual. If this is something you need to order, it needs to be ordered as soon as possible. And then in Connect, complete the virtual lab tutorial that we just looked at. And then this is my recommendation of what to do in order to stay on track and not get behind. So section 1, read about it in the textbook and take your notes. Then watch the video. And then answer the exam questions, exam 1 on the study list, questions 1 through 3. Okay, so this is section 1.1. And in the study list, 1, 2, and 3 come from section 1.1. And then section 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5. And then on Thursday evening, I really do invite you to come to office hours and ask me any questions you have about this material so far or about anything getting set up in the class. Then the second half of the week, it's finishing out this chapter 1, so section 1.6 and 1.7. And then in your textbook, there are some study questions here on page 25. Okay, so this is, sometimes I find it's easier for me to have a checklist and to check things off as I go. That's all that this is. It's a checklist to make sure you're on track and not getting behind. So I'm going to send this out to everybody. This isn't required. If you want to do things in a different order, or if you want to wait until the night before an exam to start doing all of the prep work, that's entirely up to you. It's not how I recommend, but that is an option for you. So I think that's all the information that I have for you right now. Please send me an email if you have any questions. And I welcome for you to come to office hours this Thursday and introduce yourself and bring any questions that you have about the course or about the beginning of the material. This is going to be a really interesting semester. There's a lot of really fascinating stuff in anatomy and physiology, and I'm excited to work through it with you. So, welcome to Anatomy and Physiology, and I will see you soon.